Alan Turing, World War II hero, father of computing, AI visionary. But I'll be honest, I've never dug into the actual mathematics behind his breakthroughs. Who better to correct this than the expert on all things Turing, James Grime.
Hello everyone, hi!
So, when I was an undergrad student, educational YouTube was only just germinating, like channels like Veritasium, MinutePhysics, and of course, Numberphile. And it was actually your video on the Enigma machine that actually inspired me to start a channel. Took me about 10 years to get around to it, but here we are.
That's really great. People really love that video about Enigma, so that's the one that people mention. So I'm really proud of that one, and I'm glad that it helps people and it kind of inspires people as well.
Well, it's the one that really stuck with me, but I always wanted to know more detail about how these codes were cracked, and especially some of the more advanced codes that you've sort of alluded to, like the Navy's Enigma code, that I don't think many people are even aware of.
When you talk about Enigma to people, they'll normally mention army stuff, so I thought it'd be nice to do something a bit different today. We'll talk about why the Navy was different.
We do know that there's a film that was made about Turing, and I think we might have some...
There was?
There was.
There was a film?
Yeah. And
what film's that then?
Well, I don't know if you're imitating something
there.
And I don't know if we have differing opinions on this, so we'll get into that as well.
Right.
Hope you enjoy. So if we start with the film then, because
right.
I think that might be most people's knowledge of Turing, for better or worse.
Right, yeah, yes. For better or worse. Could be either. We're not saying yet. It could be either way. So there are going to be things where I will notice things that other people won't notice. Fine, I understand that. I also like films, though, and I appreciate a well-made film. I can say it is a well-made film, and it's got the story out, and that's an important thing. It is not an accurate film.
So what does it get wrong then historically?
Okay, so you're inviting me, aren't you? You're inviting me to do this.
Yeah, I'm kind of poking you, and we'll thrash it out.
Okay, so let's say broadly speaking, what it does say is there was a Bletchley Park, British code breakers breaking the German code Enigma, which wasn't easy, and you have to get this group of what you might not expect to be code breakers, mathematicians and engineers and computer scientists.
And crossword puzzle.
Puzzle, which is a true story, although they don't, and that's the thing, they tell stories, but they dramatise them, which obviously I accept, but there are points where it gets fanciful. Let's talk about Alan Turing first, where they portray him as a kind of stereotype of someone who is socially awkward, rude, etc.
Right? Yeah, I mean, I've never met a mathematician like that at all. But...
Well, yeah, and people are amazed by this and cannot understand that a mathematician might be like this.
Yeah.
But there seems to be none of the stories I hear about Alan Turing are like that, frankly.
Yes.
So that's a stereotype, and they've called this character Alan Turing because that's what you would imagine someone like that to be.
Yeah.
But that is not the Alan Turing I've heard about when I read about him.
Yeah, so that's there's a film I can't remember who it was now, a film critic who I think he said the only thing that gets right about Turing is that his first name was Alan.
Yeah.
And must every mathematician be this unsufferable, unsociable know-it-all? Like, do they always have to be that way?
Everyone thinks Enigma is unbreakable.
Good. Let me try, and we'll know for sure, won't we?
And from what I've read of Turing, he was actually quite a funny.
He liked
working alone, but still was sociable.
Probably nerdy and awkward. But there's like thousands of people like that, mathematicians or not.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah, I will speak for myself. and then the other code breakers he's working with, those are then they share the names with the code breakers, and it's their personalities that is fanciful.
Yes. Regarding being a nerd, I'll speak for myself as well. I'm a nerdy YouTuber, and you know what that involves? Lots of research, writing, editing, and for me, who tends to use a lot of physical props, crafting. In other words, sitting at a desk for dozens of hours every day. The problems with sitting too long are well known, and a standing desk fixes many of them, reducing back pain, improving circulation, and encouraging me to stand without snapping me out of my autistic levels of focus. That's why I've been using the FlexiSpot E7 Pro. Now, as a nerd, my strength stats aren't particularly high, but this desk allows height adjustment at the push of a button. As you can see, this desk accommodates my ultra-wide with ease, with drive motors in each leg that can support and lift up to 160 kilograms. It even maintains rock-solid stability while crafting props, no wobble at all, and makes cable management a breeze with its easy-to-install tray. Reap all the benefits of a standing desk today with FlexiSpot during their 8th anniversary sale by clicking the links in the description, including a chance to get this E7 Pro for 50% off on August 19th. They offer a 10-year warranty with every purchase, and while I'm convinced you'll love this desk, they offer a 60-day free return if you're not entirely satisfied. Thanks to FlexiSpot for sponsoring this video. So I think I actually disagree with you on the film, just to kind of make my position clear. I think like it is historically inaccurate, and I also don't think it's a great film.
Oh, right.
I also don't think it's very good. So the first thing that struck me in that sort of opening scene with them all in that room is just, it's so corny. and how Hugh Alexander, the other breaker, you know, he's coming in and he's like, actually, it's 159 million.
It's over 150 million possible settings.
Very good.
159, if you want to be exact about it.
And here's Hugh Alexander. He won the chess tournament twice.
Didn't you?
Mr. Alexander won Britain's national chess championship.
Twice.
By the way, so I tell you my favourite historical inaccuracy.
Please.
Is they do that scene. Hugh Alexander won the British Chess Championship twice. Second time was in 1951. Okay, so they're like predicting the future. That's
Right.
how good they are. These code breakers.
Yeah.
They can see it.
Yeah. He's calculated 159 million chess games, and he knows that he's going to win that next one.
You're right. So they're standing around the Enigma. They're trying to show off that they can work out how many Enigma settings there are. Of course, mathematicians can't do that.
Famously bad at mental arithmetic.
And it would be a difficult calculation for anyone to do.
Yeah.
So that's not going to happen. Again, it's a film, so you can say, well, they're making up some sort of point. Fine. I also have a problem, though, with how they portray Commander Denniston. His commander, he's a Navy man, he's got his uniform on.
Tywin Lannister.
And yes, it is. Charles Dance there. And he's portrayed as an antagonist.
Have you decrypted any German messages? A single one? Can you point to anything at all that you've achieved?
He doesn't understand, why have I got a mathematician interviewing to be a code breaker? You don't speak German, I don't understand. What's this machine you're making? So he's not understanding what this is all about. Madness. He's the commander of the code breakers and had been for a long time. So he's well aware of the problem of Enigma and who he needs to recruit. He is recruiting these mathematicians. To solve this problem.
And I can see for narrative reasons why you need some kind of antagonistic force. But I always found it a more interesting story if like the Enigma itself is the antagonistic force. You know, we're rooting for them to break this code because you know what greater villain is there than the you know what I mean? Like you don't need an antagonist per se.
There's false conflict in the film. Who knew mathematicians were such good fighters? They're arguing, they're punching each other in the face. So the truth is, it was a research group.
Yes.
So at the beginning, it was a small group of mathematicians, and they were asking, can the Enigma machine be broken? It was a research problem. It was a research group.
Yeah,
and they're all on a common whatever road lane.
Yeah, and you've sort of hit on I think my biggest problem, if I have a biggest problem, is how in the first half of the story it's like Turing versus the world. He's the only one who has this idea to build this machine. The other mathematicians are like, what is this thing you're creating? It'll never work. And I'm like, mathematicians don't do that. They convince each other purely on the merit of their ideas. And you know, if he could prove that it would work, surely he would have pitched this and said, that was baffling, and I think it is a stereotype about mathematicians, but you know, we know mathematics is actually very collaborative. You know, you get together, you write on the blackboard, and we all get together, and we're going to solve it, and the best idea wins.
Obviously, Turing would have explained the idea, explained the machine, The other mathematicians would have understood that.
But of course, he's so unsociable and so awkward that he couldn't possibly have explained it. And I think there is some effort to draw a parallel between like his inability to communicate and understand communication and cryptographic stuff. And I'm like, I can sort of see what they were going for. It just doesn't work for me. I don't get it. You know,
people's mileage will vary. People's forgiveness will vary. I don't know if you know, there's a website called Information is Beautiful.
Yes, yeah.
So they did a number of films that were based on a true story. They went through each scene, minute by minute, looked at the facts, and then they judged them on whether they were true or false. Imitation Game, dead last. There's a large gap. Imitation Game was judged to be 42% accurate.
Wow.
So more false than true. That's on their forgiving scale, on their pedantic scale, 17%.
Right, okay. So, not great in terms of the accuracy.
Yeah, and when compared with other based on a true story films, not great.
It is also nice to see there's some sort of quantitative... No, this is a lot. There is a lot of BS in here. So I know I'm not the first person to point this out, but there's a bit of controversy around the fact that Turing, there's some ambiguity about whether he actually did feed information to the guy who was outed as a Soviet spy, and I know that there was some criticism as like, well, you've left that hanging, and this is a national hero. Yeah. You know, he's on the £50 note now, for goodness sake, and you've sort of like made him potentially like.
Yes, so we'll say what happened in the film. So in the film, Alan Turing's working with a small group of code breakers. Turns out that one of these code breakers, someone called John Cairncross, they discover that he's a Soviet spy. So he's passing on decrypted message from Bletchley Park to Soviet agents.
Soviet Union, but who were allies at the time.
Who are allies at the time.
But there was a lot of tension because everyone knew that post-World War, there's tension between the US and Soviet. So there's some...
Yeah, what the film says is Alan Turing works out who the spy is. They have a conversation, and essentially John Cairncross, the spy, blackmails Alan Turing using the fact that he was gay, saying, well, reveal my secret, I will reveal your secret, which is a problem because it was illegal at the time. And that's what the film has done. So now Alan Turing's in the position of being blackmailed.
I have to tell Denniston. No, you don't. Because if you tell him my secret, I'll tell him yours. Do you know what they do to homosexuals?
And cannot reveal that he knows who the spy is. So we'll say quite simply, none of that's true. First of all, he did not work with Alan Turing. He wasn't a code breaker. He worked in a different part of Bletchley Park, which was based on translation. Yes, he did pass on those decrypts to Soviet Russia. Now, we were passing on information anyway to Soviet Russia, but what we do, and what part of this Hut 3 job is you disguise where the information comes from. So we were getting these decrypts, and then we're paraphrasing it, pretending it's come from a spy.
Right. Yeah,
so now,
they do make that point in the film, don't they? Because it's like, we don't want to reveal that we've cracked Enigma, so we have to sort of allude to the fact that we've got this intelligence from elsewhere, so it's not suspicious that we've broken it.
Yeah. What John Cairncross is just passing on the pure decrypts. He doesn't know how it's been code broken because he doesn't understand that. Right? He's passing on the pure decrypts, which means Soviet Russia does know that we are breaking Enigma code, which we weren't telling them.
I can understand in the film why they made him one of the code breakers, just to sort of condense the characters down. I can even understand why they had it as Turing being the one to figure it out. Yep. But is it a big problem that Turing essentially for a time covered up the fact that he knew about this spy?
Yeah, it's a disservice.
Yeah.
It definitely is, yeah. Yes, because you're saying Alan Turing was blackmailed and did not reveal the secret, and that's not true. So
yeah, and I think that's such a shame, and I think on his homosexuality as well, which you said it was illegal at the time, and such an appalling thing that was done to him following the war, you know. But I think it just felt a bit tacked on to me, and I think why not make that a bigger part of his life? The letters that were uncovered, he'd written to his mum about his like wanting a long-term relationship and things like that, and it's like it's heartbreaking to actually read them because they're written in kind of you're reading his words, and I just think this is a feature of his life that was not really, and it was used as more of a plot device than an actual part of who he was.
Yeah, and the whole thing is a shame because by making it illegal, you're making him a target for blackmail. If it was legal in the first place, you can't blackmail someone about it.
Yeah, that's very true, yeah.
Yes, when it was revealed that he was gay, he lost his job as a code breaker because he was a target for blackmail.
Right, yeah, I see. Yeah.
So you put yourself in that position.
Yeah, you've lost...
And you've lost a code breaker.
Yeah, exactly. Well, not just a code breaker, but you've lost Alan Turing,
Yeah.
So, as I said before about the... it was using that idea of his kind of neurodivergence. When the cop asks him about can machines think, and I really like the response where he's like, well, humans think, but we allow for very divergent ways of thinking among humans, but we would all say that we are all thinking. Can machines think? Well, you're asking the wrong question because they are doing something. Do we call it thinking?
No, we allow for humans to have such divergences from one another. And if we could say that about one another, then why can't we say the same thing for brains built of copper and wire?
There are moments in this film where I could see what they were going for, and there's some interesting... I just think as a whole, it doesn't work for me.
Okay.
It was good to show that Turing was thinking about AI, and this is something I found very fascinating about Turing when I read about him. I'm like, he was thinking about this. It's easy for us to say, oh, will machines one day be sentient, or because we're surrounded by AI now, whether you call it AI or machine learning or whatever. But it's easy for us to imagine that, and it was easy, I think, even in the 60s and 70s where computers. But this is before what we call a computer. Yeah. He was still thinking about it, and I find that the sort of vision of that is really fascinating.
Absolutely. So he's ahead of his time.
Yeah,
and he is thinking about can machines think. And he writes about, I can imagine a future where we don't just program computers to do what we want them to do, but we teach them to do what we want them to do, like you would teach a person. And that's kind of where the stage we're at now.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Right? So with machine learning, where we're giving them data, training data, we're teaching the computer to do whatever task we're asking it to do. And sometimes we don't know how it's got to where it's got to because we're not actually programming it in that way.
Again, I think it's a bit corny and a bit sort of, it just rubs me the wrong way how, in the end, he's obviously very lonely, and they capture his loneliness well, but his sort of calling his machine Christopher, and
this is actually a big one.
I'm just uncomfortable with it for some reason. It doesn't gel with me. I just found it a bit corny and a bit.
Yeah, so it's not true for first of all.
So he wasn't building this machine in his.
It wasn't building this machine. He wasn't anthropomorphizing it and calling it Christopher. It wasn't called Christopher, by the way. And I go round and I do talks about Alan Turing, Enigma, and breaking the code. And one of the things that people often asked me, especially after the film, was the machine actually called Christopher? That's the thing that they really latch onto. So they really latch on to this human element that they've introduced into the film. And I'm sorry, the answer is no. It wasn't.
It just isn't. Yeah.
The machine they built to break Enigma is called the Bombe machine, or Bombe machine. And it's not a computer, first of all. It's a mechanical machine built to do one job, which is to break Enigma. The difference between that and a computer is a computer can be programmed to do many things, like your phone, right?
Yeah,
so you have an app for this and an app for that. So you can do more than one task. The Bombe had one task. It was a purpose-built machine for one job.
Yeah, it's more, basically it's just electric current. I mean, you could say all computers is just electric current, but it's just it's wired in a specific configuration.
It's a purpose-built machine, like a clock. It's a purpose-built machine.
That's a good analogy. It can only do clocking.
So imagine a film where they have a clock and they say, but can it be a calculator as well? No. They're called bomb machines. The first bomb machine was called Victory, which is nice. That's a fun thing. You could have that in the film. It's called Victory. That's a good name.
But his childhood friend wasn't called Victory.
Yes.
Was it? Yeah.
Yes. And then, yes, this kind of obsession, I don't believe that is true. That is, as I've said before, fanciful.
Yeah,
Not true.
And I think it almost could work. You can imagine a story in which it does work, but I think again, I find it a bit of a disservice to Turing. I was just thinking about it then while you were talking. Like, I think what it does, Turing's smart enough to know that maybe someday machines can think, but the way he looks at it and says, "Christopher's become so smart,"
yes,
and like he's also smart enough to know that thing ain't thinking. You know what I mean? It rubs me the wrong way.
Christopher's become so smart.
It was never a computer, which is what Alan Turing worked on after the war at Manchester.
Yeah, and we love him at Manchester. So Manchester's School of Maths is housed in the Alan Turing building. There's actually a big poster of the Imitation Game there, signed by all the cast and crew, which it's nice.
It's nice.
I just wish I loved the film a little bit more.
I'll ask you one other question. What did you think of Benedict Cumberbatch as Alan Turing?
Well, I didn't like the portrayal of the character. I thought his portrayal was good. I think from an acting perspective, even though he's playing a fictionalized version, I thought it was still a good performance. Having said that, I've seen A Beautiful Mind, and I've met people like the way Nash is portrayed.
Okay.
And we also reviewed X+Y, autistic boy called Nathan, and I've met people like him. I've never met someone like Alan Turing's, Benedict Cumberbatch's Alan Turing. Right. I just think, as you say, it is very fanciful, but it's fanciful to the nth degree,
Yeah, yes. And he's doing his Sherlock thing. I'm sure he wouldn't like
the
me
timing.
saying that.
Yeah, the timing isn't great with that, because I think it will forever be associated. This kind of stuck-up, unsociable genius, which is a shame.
And I want to point out as well, Alan Turing was 28 when he was breaking codes at Bletchley Park.
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch is not giving me a 28-year-old energy. He looks 40.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Alan Turing's this sort of nervous, awkwardy, sort of 28-year-old, giggly kind of guy. My dream casting, I'd say, was Daniel Radcliffe.
Right.
Who does kind of nervousy energy, sort of eccentric characters. He's kind of, and he was, round about the right age and sort of small.
And it would have been good timing for him as well, because he's, the Harry Potter finished,
that was my casting.
5 years. Yeah, that would be a really good choice.
They didn't ask me.
They didn't consult you on that.
They didn't ask me, and they should have done, because I would have gone through that script. Another difficulty I have with the film is they very much say that they have to break today's code every day by midnight, and then they ring a bell at midnight and they throw down their pens.
Yeah.
Go, oh, what a waste of a day!
All the work is gone. Time to start from scratch.
What just happened?
Midnight. All the work we've done today is useless.
Keep going.
No, yeah, we're not just trying a new idea each day. We're trying to do it in general, right?
And the truth is, they would be working on these codes for maybe 11 days. So your information might be 11 days out of date, but that's still no reason to stop.
Yeah, it's still useful.
He's still getting information. Yeah. But yes, this throwing down the pens at midnight is silly.
That's like our version of our, a hacking scene where they're just mashing the keyboard and like...
It is.
By magic, it works.
Yes.
There's even that clip, isn't it? I think it's on NSYS where there's like two people
on
on the same keyboard. I'm like, what are you doing?
We're on the same keyboard, hacking into the Pentagon now.
Yeah. Wait for the bar to fill up, and we're in. Editing Alex from the future here, just letting you know that James and I chatted about so much for so long that I've decided to split this video into 2 parts. Next time we'll chat about the naval Enigma protocol and why that was more difficult to crack. The full conversation is actually about 90 minutes long and available to all my patrons. It includes more discussion on the crossword contest, the original script for the Imitation Game that was never used, whether there are films where we can overlook the inaccuracies, and much more. Brilliant. Well, I have to ask, because we've broken down a few things on this channel, where we would place the Imitation Game. I think as far as the accuracy goes, it's got to be somewhere like...
It's low, isn't it? It's low accuracy.
I mean, his name is Alan. They got that right.
I know, and that's literally the sort of where we're at. He is called Alan Turing. He was a code breaker at Bletchley Park in World War II, breaking Enigma code. That's correct.
I can't really say that they've got anything more right than that.
I'm sorry, and I know people love this film, and I don't want people to be defensive about this film. But I have told people before that if you wrote me an essay about Alan Turing based on this film, I would grade it an F.
Right, well, it says it all, doesn't it? In terms of the quality, do we think it's a good film?
I think it's a well-made film. I think it's a beautiful and well-made film. I
have to say, I never get drawn into this film, and it doesn't put me in his head like I get put in John Nash's head or in Max in Pi. You know, I just don't quite get drawn in, and I think yes, it's inaccurate, but I also just don't think it's great.
Okay.
I think you like
it more.
Yeah.
And I think it's well made, and I think it's a quality film in that it has been well made, well directed.
So you maybe go a bit higher than this.
I would go higher than you.
I think that's about as high as I want to go.
Yeah,
I think X plus Y maybe is the better film. And when we get all the comments, direct them to me. It's fine. I'll take the heat for it. I really just don't think it's that good.
Oh, poor Imitation Game.
Yeah, it doesn't look great out there on its own. But
but again, that's my experience of the Imitation Game. Even in its own genre, which is based on a true story film.
Yeah,
it's out on its own, I'm afraid.
Yeah. Oh well.
Yes. Sorry, Alan Turing. You deserve better.
Yes, I think that's what we can say for certain. Well, James, thank you so much for coming on the channel and breaking down this film and the life of Alan Turing with me. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
They say to never meet your heroes. Now I know why. No, I'm joking. It's been absolutely great.
How rude. No, we had a great time. I love talking about Alan, and I love breaking this down.
You're even on first name basis with him.
Yes, me and Alan. By this point, yes.
No, it's been wonderful. Like I said, that first Enigma video really planted the seeds of people talk about maths on YouTube and they get away with it, you know, and they make these really great videos. And then I love the story of the Enigma machine. I built one in Minecraft, as some of my followers might know, but yeah, it's just been great to kind of come back around and talk about this with you. So thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching, and once again a massive thank you to James for coming here and filming. It was just great to meet and nerd out about all things Turing. A massive thank you to my patrons whose names are scrolling by right now, and if you want to support me, see my link in the description. You'll get exclusive access to our Discord server, extended cuts of select videos, including this one where James and I just carry on talking for a long while about Turing and all that good stuff, and much, much more, so please check that out. This has been another Proof Under Another Roof. Until next time.